I guess I'll just have to come to you.
Pause.
I want you.
Pause.
I need.
Pause.
Thank you for choosing AMC Theaters, where we make movie moments AMC amazing. Your safety is important to us, so remember, keep an eye on your valuables. Be sure to report any suspicious behavior. And please take a moment to find the exit closest to you. In case of emergency, walk out of the building and move far away. At the movies, the feature is on the big screen. So please remember, don't text, don't post, don't talk,
Do you want some
don't ruin the movie. Thank you.
Stop! No. I feel every time I do these hour-long reactions, it's a great time. Not saying every time I upload is a great time, but I'm just saying, like, you know what I mean? Whenever I upload an hour-long reaction, it's a good time. Especially because every time I do an hour-long reaction, I go live so I can interact with you guys. So that's dope. You got your snacks. Hot ass bowl. Boom, right here. And I got some new seasonings. Hold on. Got your Adidas? Check. Got your cuddle buddy? Check. She in the other room, but she's still here nevertheless. Comment below or comment now what snack you got. And hold on. Hold on. Hold on. Right here. Hold on. Is this the... No, this is new, I think, to me. You got the cheesy jalapeno. Right? I had to re-up on kettle corn. Right? Kettle corn is so fucking good. I had to get a big ass thing of this. Number one, white cheddar. I had to re-up on the butters. Let's go. And I know I never had this one before. The cheesy caramel corn, I don't think I had. I like caramel, so hold on. Let me open this. How y'all doing today? Comment, what time you looking at this right now. Let me know, if you on the toilet. Let me know if you're in the room. Oh God, that smells so good. Let me know where you at. Let me know if you at work, at your job, you know what I mean, at your girl's place, at your man's place. You know what I mean? Let me know if you outside. First time opening up this caramel corn junk. Hold on. Hold on. It's coming. Hold on. Oh, I smell it already. and it's not even close to my nose. It smells good. Just because it smells good don't necessarily mean it's gonna taste it. But I gotta do the taste test. The taste test. I think my finger clean. I haven't done a taste test in a minute. Hold on. I think we can cluck with the. Oh my. Okay, yeah, that's good. That's good. Hold on. That's real good. Okay. I'm drooling this shit. Okay, hold on. This convenient. Okay, put that right there. Put the butters on here. Hold on. Oh my God. Put that. Oh, it's sticking. It's sticking to the butters. Do it again. Do it again. Another coat. Oh, looks so good. It looks so good. It looks so good. It looks so good. Look at that. Look at that. Y'all can't tell me that shit don't look good. Now for the ultimate taste. What? What's that? What? Y'all. Never. You know, cheddar, the white cheddar, that's gonna be number one. That's always gonna be number one unless, something else come out, but we can go ahead and add the caramel corn to the list. The next hour-long reaction, I'm gonna do the cheesy jalapeno. Here we go. You ready? Sup? Dope. Let me know in the comment section below or in the live comments what you want me to react to next for an hour-long reaction. I got seasonings all over my computer.
In June of last year, I graduated from high school. I never had an easy time making new friends, but during quarantine, I got pretty close to a couple of old acquaintances of mine. Their names were Kevin and John.
Go ahead. Nope. Go ahead and add Kevin and John to the list. Yeah. God, this shit looks so good. Oh my God.
Description time. Kevin is a tall, fat kid with a ridiculously big head and short, unkempt, dark brown hair and a chin strap. John is even taller than Kevin, around 6'4", but very skinny, with light brown hair and bad acne. They're both the type that always gets into trouble, whether they're drinking, smoking, or busting into places. Even though I did some pretty sketchy shit sometimes, drinking and smoking wasn't really my thing. Despite that, they pressured me into hanging out with them, and for a time I sort of enjoyed their company. We got along pretty well because of our similar outlooks on the world. However, they can be real hypocrites sometimes. One time I made the mistake of letting them drive my car, and they drove out to a place in the woods where they peer pressured me into smoking.
God. Anytime somebody peer pressure you into doing anything, especially if they dead ass about the peer pressure and they're forcing you to do something, they can't be good. They're not good people. They're gonna get you clucked up.
Looking back, I realize now that they were just using me for my car.
Oh yeah.
Call it a bad decision, but I'm still not sure why I didn't
Bad.
cut ties with them right there.
It's a bad decision.
The second incident is where this all really started. About a month ago, despite everyone warning me not to hang out with them, I let them take me to a party. Since I was growing suspicious of them, I took my own car and followed them there.
So, your sus flags is going off. Your cluck flags are going off. Your red flags are going off. And you still want to hang around? So whatever happens to you from this point on is on you and you alone.
red flag was when they parked 2 streets away from where the party was taking place. But I didn't think anything of it at the time. We got to the address and were turned away immediately. Kevin tried to convince them to let us in, but it was useless. At that point, I knew something was up with Kevin and John.
Oh yeah?
The next day, I decided that enough was enough and was tired of being around fake people.
I'm saying.
I needed to cut them off.
Parade! Parade! Hallelujah. Praise God. Praise all glory to God. Come on with it. I cannot fake. What? I cannot stand fake people. You know how many fake people I dealt with in high school? And even after high school. It's not cute. Like, that shit gonna catch up to you too.
Since John didn't have a phone, I texted his girlfriend and told her to tell Kevin and John that I was done. That night, I got a Snapchat from John. Yo, my girlfriend dumped me because of you, you fucking asshole. He said in all caps, followed by 3 middle finger emojis. I then got a message from Kevin, which pretty much said the same thing. He called me the C word and warned me to stay away from him and John.
The C word. I only know one C word. Is it? I'm gonna try to spread this out. I don't want to get, I don't want to get no effects from YouTube. Excuse me. But is the C word you're talking about? Is it? Aunt. You see how I spread that out? Is it? Aunt. You know, if you don't know what I'm saying, aunt. If it's not that, I don't know what the hell you talking about.
I laughed to myself, thinking that they wouldn't do anything. They even admitted to me in the past that they weren't as tough as they acted. And here they were, threatening me. I got a kick.
Yeah, but it's 2 of them and 1 of you. Come on, man.
Out of it. But I should not have let my guard down.
No shit.
That Friday, my mother, who has multiple sclerosis, spent the day at the hospital getting experimental medicine through an IV. My dad called me around 5 and said that she was going through some side effects, but that she would be okay. However, they would need to spend the night there, meaning that I would be home alone for the rest of that night. I did what I used to do every night before going to college. I stayed up for a while playing Madden with all the lights off, and after one of my games, I decided to check Snapchat. Something in my gut told me to look at my Snap map. For those of you who aren't familiar with Snapchat, it's a map that shows you your friends' locations. Anyway, I checked, and my heart skipped a beat when I saw that Kevin and John were just outside of my house.
God damn.
As I was trying to calm myself down, I got a call from my neighbor. When I picked up, he sounded frantic and told me that he had seen 2 people climb my fence and jump into my backyard. He said his wife had already called the police and that I needed to hide until they got there. I ran down the hall and into my room, locking my door and hiding in my closet. Shortly after, I heard the sound of glass breaking and footsteps in the common area of my house. Luckily for me, I live at the front of my neighborhood, just off the main road, and there's usually a police car stationed outside of our neighborhood looking for speeders, so they got there within about 2 minutes. I heard my front door being forced open, followed by multiple police officers yelling at the intruders. Not long after that, I heard a knock on my bedroom door and a police officer announcing himself. He then entered my room and told me that it was safe. One of the windows in the kitchen was completely destroyed. Kevin and John were escorted out of my house in cuffs. My dad got back home soon after. He hugged me for at least a minute.
I don't know why. This water bottle was supposed to last me the whole video. I drank it in like 10 seconds. God damn. I don't know why I do that. The only time I would ever kind of sip water is if I'm already full.
He said that my mom didn't really understand what was happening because of how loopy the medicine made her. But the next day, she came back home and broke down in tears over how close I was to dying. There's a lot of things about that incident that have been bothering me. The way I underestimated them, the evil looks they gave me as they were escorted out, and the one thing that will always stick with me is what I heard the police officers say when they entered my house. "Drop the gun!" It's a terrifying feeling knowing that I could have been murdered by people who I used to call my friends.
You gotta watch out for the red flags.
The police told me that when they busted down the door, Kevin and John were waiting in the foyer. Kevin was brandishing a pistol. They believed that they were either waiting for me to come out of my room and attack me when I least expected it, or they were going to shoot me while I was laying on the couch playing video games.
Jeez.
They told the police that it was meant to be a joke during the interrogation.
A joke. Ain't shit funny when you dealing with a gun. Just saying. They was out to get your ass.
And that John laughed about it. But it was obviously bullshit. To me, it just proved how sick and dangerous they were. I still haven't totally wrapped my head around the fact that things could have gone so much worse if my neighbors hadn't seen them climbing my fence that night. And it serves as a reminder to me to live life to the fullest.
What?
Kevin and John are currently awaiting trial for breaking and entering and attempted murder. They also got slapped with drug charges because of all the narcotics that was found in their car. I'll be forever grateful to my neighbors for saving my life.
I'm just saying, you gotta watch out for
When I was 14,
Wow. You gotta watch out for your neighbors too. That. Just saying.
I was in a very dark place in my life. My parents would never let me go out, and because of that, I developed a rebellious streak. I'm a 5'5" Caucasian woman with long blonde hair. At the time, I was suffering from severe depression. I would be officially diagnosed by the doctor months after the events of this story. I used to sneak out of my house, go out to parties, and use drugs. Typical teenager type of stuff.
What do you... I don't know. But, she just said, typical teenager type of drugs? I ain't never, nah. Speak for yourself on that shit.
I was lying about my age and hanging out with people over 18. I looked a lot older for my age. I now realized that my self-destructive behavior was ruining my life, and it led me down a dark path I almost never came back from. I'm from a quiet little town in Pennsylvania. We basically lived in the middle of nowhere.
That's what it was. That's what it is. It's Pennsylvania. It's Pennsylvania. You know how much clock shit happens in Pennsylvania? Come on.
I would go out to parties in the nearby town of Scranton, which most people know as the town from The Office. It seems all happy and bubbly, But like with every town, it has a dark side to it. One night I went out to this party with a friend. We'll call her Jamie. I never really knew her that well. She seemed cool, and we went to the same school, but that was the extent of it.
So? What? She could be batshit crazy. You barely knew her. And just because y'all went to the same school means y'all could... Nah. No. You're a clock ass.
Jamie turned a lot of heads with her dark skin and long curly hair. She drove the guys crazy. 2 guys drove to my town to pick us up at night. It was a pretty far drive, but they thought we were cute, and we went along with it. When we got to this party, we realized that we were the only girls there.
Oh,
and there were
hell.
about 10 to 15 other men there.
Oh, my God. I don't know about Jamie, but on me, the second my foot stepped out onto that pavement from the car, time out. Like, this my foot, this the pavement, this my foot. On me.
The guys that we came there with told us to come upstairs to meet some friends of theirs.
Oh my God.
And we all sat down and smoked with them for a while.
What?
The guy hosting this party was named Devin, and he showed me around his apartment while Jamie stayed behind smoking with the other guys. After the tour, Devin asked me and Jamie to come into his room, so we did,
Wow.
thinking nothing of it.
Wow.
Big mistake.
Yeah.
Devin closed the door and tried to get us to have sex with him. We said no and got up to leave the room, but when we tried to open the door, it wouldn't budge.
Oh, yeah.
It wasn't locked, so we continued to pull on the door. After about 30 seconds, we realized there was someone on the other side of the door, holding it shut. I continued to pull on the door with everything I had, as Jamie looked through the crack when it opened to see that there were 3 other men outside the door.
I feel like Jamie a part of this shit, because I feel like Jamie is the type of person to steal something from you and be the same person to help you look for it.
She saw that one of them had a gun in their belt, but didn't say anything because Devin was in the room with us, trying to stop us from breaking the door. We started banging on it and shouting. That's when we heard someone come up the stairs and say, "What the hell are you guys doing? Is someone yelling in there?" I began screaming, "Help us!" You could clearly hear how scared I was. We heard an argument break out on the other side of the door. I was still pulling on the door with all my might, and Jamie was still banging on it, hoping that someone would open it. As the door came open, we took our chance and ran for it. One of the men in the hallway grabbed my shirt. I screamed so loud that the whole neighborhood probably heard me. I honestly think he let go out of shock. Jamie was already down the stairs and out of the apartment. I followed closely behind, nearly tripping over my own feet. We ran down the block and hid behind a shed. Seconds later, we heard gunshots and someone yelling our names. I was trying to be as quiet as I could, but I couldn't hold back the tears. If we stayed, we would have been found. So we ended up running through someone's yard. I ended up falling, scraping up my knee pretty bad. After a while, I could no longer run because of how bad my leg was hurting, and blood was now coming out of my wound and down my leg,
Jesus.
onto my shoes. I was speed walking with a limp, while Jamie was trying to help me keep pace so that they wouldn't catch up to us. We kept going through people's yards and trying to find a good place to hide.
Man. Go back.
But I couldn't hold back the tears. If we stayed, we would have been found. So we ended up running through someone's yard. I ended up falling, scraping up my knee pretty bad. After a while, I could no longer run because of how bad my leg was hurting, and blood was now coming out of my wound and down my leg onto my shoes. I was speed walking with a limp while Jamie was trying to help me keep pace.
Jamie, I'm sorry, boo-boo. On me, this is nothing personal. If you would have fell, got hurt, and you slowed down drastically, I'm not saying I would have kept going, full run, full speed for a good 6 hours. But I am saying I would have kept full speed for 6 hours straight, no breaks. I would have been in a whole different state. On me. But I'm not saying that. But I'm not saying that man, clock it. I'm not, if you trip and fall, if we're in the same situation and we're both running and you trip and fall, right? And you talking about, come back, save me. Bitch. That's tough. I'm haul assing, keeping the same momentum, the same speed for 6 hours. That's tough.
That they wouldn't catch up to us. We kept going through people's yards and trying to find a good place to hide. We turned a corner onto a street, and I heard a car come to a sudden halt nearby. Me and Jimmy looked at each other with fear in our eyes, terrified that we had been discovered. The hairs on my arm stood up as I saw one of the guys get out of the back seat of the car and point a gun at us.
Jesus.
We moved just in time as the gunshots missed us and hit a car on the side of the street. We ran away as fast as we could. The cops then turned the corner on the opposite side of the street and saw the men who were shooting at us. There was a firefight. We hid under someone's porch as gunshots broke out between the police and the men pursuing us.
Jesus.
More cops came flying past the house, and we spent the next 5 minutes with our heads down, listening to the gunfire and shouting. Eventually the men were overpowered and surrounded, and were forced to surrender. Once all the men were in handcuffs, we got up and walked down another street and called Jamie's brother to come get us. He took us back to his apartment and patched up my leg, as Jamie told him everything that went down. Afterward, he took both of us home. I stumbled into my house and changed as fast as I could. I'm not a very religious person, but that night I was praying to whatever gods were listening. I took off my blood-soaked clothes and hid them under my bed, crawled under the covers, and just stared up at my ceiling, thinking about the events that had just transpired. I didn't get much sleep that night, knowing that those guys knew where I lived. Actually, I couldn't sleep for days. I became a literal zombie, worried that they would come for me eventually. After my parents figured out something was wrong with me, they thought that I was being bullied at school or something, and had me go live with my aunt in another state for a while. I came back months later to find out that the men who picked us up that night were in jail, and would be there for a couple of years. I finally felt safe again. Those men had bad intentions, and I often think about what would have happened to us if we hadn't run out of there when we did.
You know exactly what would have happened to you. 13 Reasons Why. Was that too far? I'm sorry.
This story happened to me in September of last year. And it's about...
Oh, but whole time though, isn't Jamie the one that invited you over there? Jamie, next time I see you, I'm clucking you up on sight.
Far the scariest thing that I've ever experienced. I live on the second floor of a residential house in a pretty large suburb with my fiance and our cat. The night that this happened, I decided to get some cool air by opening up all the windows since our landlord had just removed all the AC units during a renovation. Being on the second floor, I didn't really give a second thought to having all the windows open. I mean, you'd have to be some kind of freak to climb up and enter someone's apartment in the dead of night.
So I'm guessing that's what happened. Some sort of freak climbed up in the dead of night into your shits. Okay.
Around 2 a.m.,
Oh.
I woke up to my cat growling, and I got up to see what his deal was. I needed a drink of water anyway. When I walked into the hallway, I saw a figure standing at the entrance of my kitchen,
Hell no.
being half asleep. I said, "Renee, what are you doing up?
My ass.
Are you okay?" I thought it was my fiancée, but once I realized it couldn't have been her, I went from half asleep to being fully awake as pure terror ran through my body. I ran back into my room, yelling like a lunatic. Renee woke up screaming. I told her to call.
I could just picture him running through the house, frantic, screaming.
911 as I jumped over the bed and pulled out my loaded 9mm I keep in my dresser drawer.
Okay.
The figure appeared in my doorway, and I pointed the gun right at them. The intruder quickly ducked out of the way and ran back down the hallway. I gave chase, yelling and aiming my gun. They ran into the living room and jumped out of the window, plummeting 2 stories onto the pavement.
I could just picture him like Mr. Ballin said in one of his ads. He was like just jumping, like going through the window.
Low, letting out a loud scream as they collided with the ground. They tried to get up and run, but kept falling back down. I found out later that they had broken one of their legs. About 30 seconds later, a police car came speeding up in front of the house. The officer got out and handcuffed the man. More officers showed up shortly after and took my statement. It turned out that this man was under the influence of hardcore drugs and had been arrested for burglary in the past. When they searched him, they found a knife. I assume that he was just looking to steal from us, but you never truly know what someone's intentions are. If it wasn't for my cat and my gun, I might not be here to write this.
I'm saying.
I'm just glad that no one was hurt, and that the man was arrested. I do sincerely hope he gets the help he needs, and more importantly, he stays far away from my house.
I hope he don't get the
If you're wondering how he even got in, the police told me that he used a ladder my landlord had left out from the previous week.
Are you telling me your landlord was in cahoots this whole time? Shit. Wow. Your landlord. Wow.
Now, every night before bed, I always make sure every window is
You
closed
should have did
and
that.
locked.
I hope the dude doesn't get help. And just,
I'll start off by saying that this isn't my story. It's a messed up experience from when my older cousin, Dylan, was just a kid. He told me about this recently, and I'll be writing it from his point of view moving forward. I think everyone has memories from their childhood that bother us. I'm 24 years old now, but this is something that I'll never forget.
Right.
When I was in elementary school, I did what was called the Extended Day Program. It was essentially a daycare after school for kids whose parents worked late. This happened to me when I was in 2nd grade, and I was 7 years old at the time. My parents worked late on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays.
How you know they working late and not just clucking at home? You know?
My older sister, Alyssa, had a part-time job at McDonald's.
Alyssa.
Usually my parents would come pick me up, but on Tuesdays and Thursdays, my sister would pick me up at around 4:30, which was an hour and a half after school ended. It was a chilly day in March. We were on the playground, just messing around. It was about 4:10 when the teacher who was watching us on the playground, Mr. McCann, told me that I was going home. He walked me back into the school, where I grabbed my stuff and walked out to the lobby. There, I met a young woman who was no older than 30. She was skinny, about 5'2", and had long dark hair with tan skin, a pointy nose, and a lot of makeup on, topped off with a nose ring and a tattoo on her left arm. She knelt down and asked me if I was Dylan. And me being a dumb kid, I said yes. She introduced herself as Heather. She told me that she worked with my sister, and she...
I don't care if you're Heather, Beather, Weather, Kether, Sether, Beather. You're not... Get off of me! Get your hands off me, you damn dirty... And yeah. What the fuck is wrong with you?
here to pick me up, since apparently my sister had to work extra late that night.
Cat!
A side note, she never actually mentioned my sister by name. This will be important later on. Anyway,
That's
she
kind of important right now. What?
hand, and we walked out to her car together. And obviously, I didn't think anything of it. No alarm bells were going off in my head yet.
Man.
Because again, I was just a dumb kid.
You know what it was? It's probably, no, the reason you didn't have, like, no red flags went off in your head at that time is because, one, you know, you probably don't know that much of Adidas and what they can do. And then two, she probably had, like, hella Nike shit in her trunk or some shit, you know? Overpowering the amount of Adidas that was in your body at the time.
When we got to her car, Heather offered me M&Ms. I thought she was being
That is such a club candy.
nice, so I ate them. And I know what most of you are probably thinking, but luckily they turned out to be normal M&Ms. At first, nothing seemed off. Heather took me down the same ways that my parents and my sister would always take me to and from school. It wasn't until she passed my street by that I started to realize that something was off.
Oh my God.
I told her that we passed by my street, but she just responded by saying, "Okay," and kept going down the main road. She no longer had that caring, friendly tone that she had when I met her less than 30 minutes before. She seemed cold, and not really caring about how nervous I was. I asked her if she could get me a Happy Meal, and she responded by yelling at me, "Shut up, kid." After a couple of minutes of silence, I then asked another question, and her answer terrified me. "So are you and Alyssa friends?" Who's Alyssa? My heart and lungs dropped to the pit of my stomach. Even as a kid, I knew that this meant I was in serious danger. I started crying, afraid of what was going to happen next. Heather kept screaming for me to shut up, and even reached over and slapped me a couple of times. Eventually, she got so fed up with me, she pulled over, put the car in park, and pulled a roll of duct tape from the center console. Then, just like in an action movie, a police car pulled up behind us just in time. Heather dropped the duct tape, put the car in drive, then floored it down the road.
Oh shit.
The speed limit was 30, but she had to be going at least 60, maybe even 70. This lasted for about 5 minutes. I kept crying as Heather floored it down the road, taking turns at ridiculous speeds. We soon came upon 2 police cars blocking the road. Heather slammed on the brakes, sliding to a stop just before she hit one of the police cars. She got out and started running, but luckily the cops were able to stop her before she took off into the forest alongside the road. As Heather was taken into custody, One of the police officers took me home in his car. When I got home, Alyssa was sobbing, and as soon as she saw me, she hugged me for about 2 minutes straight. My parents arrived home shortly after. They had heard about what happened and were both pretty upset.
Oh, yeah?
That night, I had a very long...
You know what you can do to make up for it? Adidas for life.
...with me about stranger danger. The police came back later and checked in on us and asked me a few more questions. It turns out that Heather was not the woman's real name, and she had no connection to my sister whatsoever.
Oh, yeah?
And even though I had no idea at the time, the woman's ex-boyfriend was on trial for child pornography and sex trafficking.
I heard that when you go to jail or prison and the inmates ask you what you in for, and you say, I don't know if it's like having, I don't want to say the word, but having sex without permission, or if it's doing something with a kid, then they beat the living shit out of you. That's what I heard. I don't know if that's, but just saying.
What still confuses me about this is how Heather knew who I was. Keep in mind, I was only 7, and this happened before social media really took off. I do have a theory, though. Mr. McCann, the teacher that ran the after-school program, was fired after this incident.
Now it was an inside job.
On the news many years later that he had been charged with molesting a student at another school.
Oh, no.
He ended up taking his own life before he stood trial.
I hate when people do that shit. Just man up, woman up to it, and just face the repercussions. Don't take the easy, because best believe, I feel like if you take the easy way out, because not only if you did not take the easy way out, will you get clucked up, probably until you die. I feel like in the afterlife, you're going to get clucked up even more. And that shit for eternity. Oh my God.
I think there's a chance that both he and Heather are connected, but I have no proof of that.
They are.
And I'll never know for sure.
I don't need proof.
To all the kids out there listening, please be careful with strangers, and always listen to your parents when they warn you about the dangers of the world. To all the parents, for the love of God, teach your kids about stranger danger. Hopefully Heather is either in jail or got some kind of help, and she'll never try to harm another kid ever again.
Her ass needs to be in jail. She don't need no help. She probably need help getting in jail, but she don't need no. She knew exactly what she was doing.
This happened a while ago. I have since been diagnosed with PTSD because of this incident. I'm currently on medication to suppress the recurring nightmares. For some background, at the time I was only 9 years old. I am a female from Georgia.
Oh, God.
My mother met my stepfather at a church we recently started attending with her best friend. When this happened, they were just dating. It was a fairly normal church for the most part. It was a somewhat run-down building with an outdated interior and an old basement. The pastor was an ex-drug addict turned man of God.
What the hell? Oh my God! Not in God's house. Not in God's house. Come on, not in God's house.
It was honestly one of the nicest people I've ever met.
Oh my God.
It was a cold winter night. Saturday church service had just ended. We left the church and headed towards my mom's old Pontiac Vibe. It was the kind of car that didn't have electric locks or windows. Each door had to be locked and unlocked on its own. We sat in the parking lot talking for some time. Since my stepfather lived in a different city back then, he and my mom wanted to maximize their time together. They were discussing upcoming holiday plans, when I noticed a figure wearing a green coat moving between the cars parked nearby.
Oh no.
I didn't think anything of it at the time, as it could have been our pastor or another churchgoer. My stepdad got into the passenger seat, and we were about to take off, when his door was suddenly pulled open. There was a man in a green hoodie that none of us recognized. He had dark skin, bloodshot eyes, and a shaved head. He looked completely deranged. He shoved a gun into my stepdad's abdomen. "Give me your wallet," he demanded. Mind you, my stepfather is a Hispanic man. He speaks English well now, but he wasn't fluent back then, and he had a thick accent. So he simply responded to the man, "No." My mom began freaking out. I was so scared that I kept trying to get out of the car. I started crying because my mom told me to stay put. Then the man began screaming, "I said give me your wallet." But my stepdad stood firm. "No." The man then directed his attention at my mother.
Oh God.
"Tell him I said to give me his wallet." Thinking that he couldn't understand him, my mother tried to get my stepdad to comply, but he refused. I'm looking frantically through our fogged-up windows, trying to find someone to get their attention. But the man looked at me, then back to my mom. He then hit my stepdad with his gun, causing him to lean forward. He then pointed the gun at me.
Jesus.
A 9-year-old girl in a pink and black dress who was talking about Christmas dinner just 5 minutes before.
Jesus.
"Somebody better give me something, or she dies." I lost it. I got out of my seat and exited the car. That's when I saw 2 other hooded men.
Hey. Wouldn't it be clutch if I know this is true, but like if Superman came out of nowhere, flying right next to the person and said, "How about I get you another chance, a second chance at life?" Oh man, just came out of nowhere. Oh my God.
Across the parking lot. They were walking towards the car, also carrying guns. I started screaming and immediately got back in the car. My mom yelled at me for getting out, and the man with the gun was still screaming at my stepdad. "Are you listening to me, man? I'm going to shoot her right between the fucking eyes." My mom then offered him all the cash she had on her. She handed him $75 from her wallet. The man ripped away the cash from her, then assaulted my stepdad again with his gun. The mother then slammed his arm against the car door to close it, but in the process the gun went off. The bullet went into the well of my mom's car. The 3 men ran off into the night. We sat there crying and trying to console each other. After about 30 minutes, we calmed ourselves down and left. We immediately went to the police station and filed a report. They said it was most likely gang activity, and it would be very difficult to track down the perpetrators. The men could have killed my stepfather right in front of my mother. There was no justice. I was only a child when this happened. It's been 13 years, and I still wake up screaming and sweating from the nightmares. I'm just glad that my mom had her grocery money on her that day. Heaven knows what would have happened if she didn't.
Dang. Yeah, that's traumatizing.
At the time of this story, my close friend and I were in our late 20s. We became roommates and moved into a new apartment in the Greater Toronto area. It was a great neighborhood, with low crime rates and lots of tourists. Not a bad place at all.
My ass.
The building was in great shape, but very old. And many of the tenants have told us that they've been there for over 20 years.
Okay, and?
We were assured that the locks were changed before we moved in. There was a maintenance guy who took care of the building, who was in his late 60s. I was the last to leave the apartment. It was around 8 a.m., and I locked the door behind me. My roommate got home that day at 4:30 p.m., changed, and then left again to go run errands. We both arrived back at the apartment around 6 p.m. The first thing I did was go to my room and change out of my work clothes and put on some yoga pants. I then noticed that my closet looked a bit messy. It caught my attention because I'm very much a type A personality. My belongings looked out of place. Some items were laying on the closet floor, while others looked like they had been placed into incorrect storage containers. Furthermore, it looked like somebody had gone through my dirty laundry and tossed the clothes out of their way, which is probably what caused the box full of stuff to fall in the first place. Because I'm a very tidy person, I knew right away that this was not right. The thought crossed my mind that my roommate might be responsible, but I've known her for a long time. There was no way that she would do this. If she ever needed anything from me, she would ask. Fast forward to 9:45. I'm in my room, and all of a sudden, I hear my roommate call my name loudly. So I got up to see what was wrong. I found the gift you left me. What? The present you left in my pillow. I just stared at her. I had no idea what she was talking about. Then I saw something on her bed. It was a dildo.
Oh.
My dildo. I grabbed it and said, "Hey, that's mine." Well, what the fuck is it doing in my bed? I found it in my pillow. You didn't put it there? Oh, fuck no. It's supposed to be stored in my closet. Now the wheels started turning, and things were coming together. Someone must have entered our apartment, went into my room, looked through my dirty laundry, and found the sex toy in one of the storage boxes. Then put it inside my roommate's pillowcase, so she would find it when she went to bed. After being in shock for a few minutes, the reality sunk in. There were no signs of forced entry. The intruder likely entered with a key. We decided to talk to the building managers. They were an old couple who lived in the same building. They seemed concerned and clearly saw that I was an emotional wreck. But the husband tried to play it down, saying that it was probably just a joke, and then asked us if we gave anyone a copy of the apartment key. Stupid question. Since the husband was a frail old man with cancer, I truly believed that he had no involvement. We decided to call the cops, and they came within an hour or so. I told them the whole story,
Damn.
and they took all of our info. But honestly, there wasn't much that they could do, and I figured as much, but at least we had a paper trail. I definitely mentioned the maintenance man as someone that they should question. I'm convinced that the intruder either had to be a staff member or someone who had access to the apartment keys. As of the writing of this story, there has been literally no word from the cops. The good news is I don't believe that anyone has been in our apartment since that day.
Maintenance.
This story took place in the summer of 2017. My friend and I were young teenage girls at the time. We didn't live in the best of areas. One night we decided to go for a walk around the local pond, which wasn't far from my house. It was pitch black out that night, although there was some sporadic lighting from the streetlights, which were all spaced far apart. However, there was still enough light to guide us to the pond. We left my house and began walking up the dark street. We stopped at one end of the pond and sat down on a bench. This bench happened to be right under the single light that overlooked the pond. And since the light was directly above us, anyone approaching would see us perfectly illuminated. Looking back, it wasn't a good idea to sit there at night.
Oh, yeah?
It practically made us a target. We talked for a while, but after a few minutes, I noticed some movement in the distance. I squinted my eyes and saw a group of silhouettes approaching us. Since I'm a paranoid person on a good day, I alerted my friend to the presence of what I assumed was a group of people swiftly coming our way. We debated for a moment on what...
Debated for a moment on what? On to haul ass? As they swiftly made their way to you, you need to swiftly make your way out that shits. Talking about you debated. What you debating for? You see a group of people coming to you. What are you talking about? Ashley girl, you see that? Yeah. What you want to do about it? I don't know, girl. Oh my God, you so. Oh my God, I like your nails. Boom, they right there within inches.
we should do. The first option was to keep sitting on the bench and assume that they were just harmless individuals who wouldn't do anything to us.
Wow.
The other option was to take no chances and make a run for it back to my house. Something about these approaching figures was threatening to me. So we quickly got back on our feet and started off with a speed walk. I looked back, and my worst fears were confirmed. The group of figures was now sprinting right for us.
Oh my God.
That's when my fear truly kicked in. My friend and I began to run full speed. I kept looking back at the group as we ran, and noticed that they were gaining on us. I could not make out any features of the people due to the lack of lighting, so we were just blindly running from several faceless figures, which added to the terror. We eventually arrived at my house and hid in my front yard for a while. Since we were being followed, I didn't want them knowing where I lived. Eventually we went inside, making sure to lock the doors behind us. When we were talking about it after the fact, she said that she never looked back like I did, so we don't actually know if they attempted to follow us the whole way back. For all we know, it could have been a group of kids just playing a prank on us. But under the circumstances, and the area's reputation, we were glad that we didn't take any chances.
I'm glad y'all didn't either. Jesus.
This story is from the perspective of a female. I have worked as a night shift telephone operator at a casino hotel for 14 years. I'm used to dealing with drunks, assholes, and perverts on a daily basis. I get a lot of unwanted attention because of my voice. I've been serenaded and even proposed to. I'm usually able to shrug it off, but on the night in question, I received a phone call from someone who was an extremely deranged individual. It started off like any other normal Saturday night. A drunken guest called from his hotel room. Hey, can I get 2 sets of towels up here, please? My pleasure, sir. Is there anything else I can get for you?
Why you sound like that?
Yeah. You.
Ah!
I sighed in annoyance. We'll get those items up to you shortly, sir. Have a wonderful
And by we, I mean them. Not me. What is you talking about? Why on earth, on this planet, will I come to you after you said what you just said? You sound, man.
I hung up, thinking that I had heard the last from that guest. But I was wrong. About 15 minutes later, he called back. Hey, everything's here. Except you. I don't work in housekeeping, sir. Damn. Your voice, though. I bet you're hot, aren't you?
Alright.
Why don't you come up and see me?
What?
Sir, I'm not allowed to leave my desk. Do you need anything else? Do you not understand what I'm telling you? I need you. I hung up on him again and continued to take calls. That night, I was the only operator on duty, which was usually the case. After a while, I had almost forgotten about the guy, when he called again about 30 minutes later. Hey, I've got champagne and cheesecake up here for you. Not for me, sir. You enjoy it, and have a good night.
Okay, well, I got vegan champagne and vegan cheesecake. You know.
Wait. Don't hang up. You're the love of my life.
Shut the fuck up.
I've never loved anyone but you.
Shut up.
I was losing my patience with this drunken idiot. Sir, I don't have time for this. Enjoy your cheesecake and have a good night. I said firmly before hanging up. I knew that I lost my temper, but I couldn't help it. This was getting ridiculous. A few minutes later, he calls back. If you won't come to me, I guess I'll just have to come to you.
Pause.
I want you.
Pause.
I need.
Pause.
Sir, you need to stop calling me, or I'm going to inform security. I'm trying to work here.
That'd be crazy if that was security.
I slammed the phone down again, slightly rattled. This has never happened to me on this level before, and it was starting to scare me. He calls back. What do I have to do to get you up here? You know that I know your boss. All I have to do is tell him that I want you, and you'll be mine. I practically own this fucking place.
That's disturbing. That's why the fact if he can do that, get the hell out of there. Find a new job.
Phone call, and you're gonna be up here on your knees. I hung up the phone in disgust. Then I quickly dialed security and explained to them what was going on. All the security guys are buddies of mine. They said that they would be up there to talk to him immediately and to let them know if he called back again. A short time later, he did. They're trying to keep you from me. They don't know how much I love you, how I need you.
Pause.
I'm coming for you.
You coming? Pause. Pause. I called security again. They told him that if he called back one more time, they would have the sheriff's office come out. So a short time later, I received another phone call from the lobby phone. At first, all I could hear was heavy breathing. Yeah. He getting one off! And then, that familiar voice. I'll fucking find you. I need you. You belong to me. Oh my God. Where the fuck are you? I hung up and called security, who immediately sent an officer to the lobby. They also said that they were going to call the sheriff right away. Since I don't work at the front desk, I'm nowhere near the lobby. I'm in a safe, undisclosed location, behind a secured door, where he couldn't possibly find me. But still, the caller's behavior frightened me. My coworker then called me from the front desk. Hey, there's this creepy guy up here asking about you. I didn't tell him anything. Do you need me to call security? Oh my God. Man, damn the security. Get some real officers up in this mother club, please.
Are you kidding me? I've already called them. They should be on their way. Where is he now? He's standing right... Oh shit. Where'd he go?
What?
Fuck. I'm calling security. Lock the office door, okay? After that, I quickly contacted my buddy in surveillance. They said that they were aware of the guy and were tracking him. He was pacing by the employee's door, looking for another way to get downstairs, to where I was. Don't worry, security just caught up with him, and the sheriff just pulled up. I felt sick to my stomach. I didn't realize until just then how bad I was shaking. This man was a lunatic, wandering the halls of the hotel, looking for me. He doesn't even know me, for Christ's sakes, and has no idea what I look like, and yet he was determined to find me. I was having a full-blown anxiety attack. I have no idea how much time passed before the head of security, who was a good friend of mine, came into the office. The sound of the door opening made me jump. Hey, it's going to be okay. Just breathe. He's banned from here, and the sheriff deputies have escorted him off the property. You should go home. You want me to call the manager? No, I'll be okay. Really, thank you. I just wasn't prepared for that level of crazy tonight is all. Are you sure you're going to be okay? I was far from okay. But I knew there wasn't anyone to cover my shift.
You looking at me and I'm shaking like shit. You talking about, am I okay? I'm talking about. And you asking me if I'm okay? Clock you.
I was no longer in danger. For the rest of that night, several of my buddies in security came by to check on me. I don't know what that man said to them, and I don't think I want to know. But I'll tell you this. I've never seen a group of big tough guys look so worried and disturbed before. I guess that's what happens when you come face to face with someone who has truly lost their mind.
How did he get in the first place?
The year was 2015. I was around 14 or 15 back then and was a freshman in high school. I was always a quiet kid. Everyone knew me as the one artsy girl who gave everyone the side eye. I didn't like anyone in my grade or my school for the most part. I usually had no friends and was always a loner. However, in 6th grade, a few years before 2015, I made a best friend. Her name was Ray. Ray and I were almost the same person with a few minor differences. We shared the same interests, did the same things. Hell, we even played the same kind of guitar. And we both hated everybody. It was like we were long-lost sisters. We did a lot of things together, and I will admit that we did some weird stuff as freshmen. We used to smoke and wander around the streets at night, which sparked the idea that we should sneak out into the forest behind the elementary school and smoke there. We lived in upstate New York, where small towns and gossipy people were the only things around. So smoking in the forest would be the safest spot, since we didn't want our neighbors to snitch on us. Fast forward to March. Ray and I had planned out what we were going to do. We decided to meet at a church that was 5 houses down from Ray's house. Around midnight, I headed out. I packed a bag with cigarettes and a small lighter, along with a few snacks. Sneaking out of my house would be a challenge. My sister would go nuts if she found out that I left. I managed to jump out from the 2nd floor window. Thankfully, I landed on some small bushes below. I picked myself up and began to jog down the road to Ray's house. We didn't live too far from each other, but the distance was considerable. We met at the church. There was a path behind the chapel that led up a hill and towards the elementary school. As we walked, we were being obnoxiously loud, especially Ray. I assumed that she had drank something beforehand to make the night more fun for her, but I was getting nervous, so I began to shush her just in case anyone was around. Eventually, we ended up at the elementary school. We made our way past the playground and soon entered the dark forest beyond. The tall grass was covered in melting snow, which made the ground damp and muddy. Our footsteps were loud, but we didn't care. Who else would be out in the woods at this hour? I forgot to mention that I also brought my ukulele with me.
Oh, what?
So we found a spot by a large tree, and I began to play an old tune while Ray danced around like an idiot with a cigarette dangling from her mouth. We laughed for a while before we ended up talking about life and whatnot. It was around then that I realized it was pitch black, and I couldn't even see the moonlight. Hey, we've been out here for a while. We should start heading back. It got really dark out here all of a sudden, I said to Ray. She chuckled, saying that I was just trying to kill the mood.
Now Ray in cahoots.
But regardless, I had the feeling that we were not alone out here.
No, oh yeah.
I looked around as she continued rambling. I then heard heavy breathing coming from somewhere close by.
He getting one off.
Thinking that I was just being paranoid, I brushed it off and continued our conversation. But not even 2 minutes later, I heard actual footsteps behind us.
Jesus.
I didn't dismiss them this time. They were loud, heavy footsteps, crunching leaves beneath them as they moved closer to us. I grabbed my belongings and tugged on Ray's arm, yanking her ass off the ground, and began screaming at her to run. I pushed her ahead of me, ensuring she got a head start.
I can see it. Getting Ray up off the... Get your ass! Bring your ass! Come on!
She wasn't the fastest runner. My heart was pounding so hard that I couldn't even hear her screaming. She quickly glanced behind her and suddenly screamed that someone was behind us, about to grab me. So I darted off in a different direction. But the footsteps continued to pursue me. I ran as fast as I could, shouting at Ray to get back to the path that led out of the forest. Suddenly the footsteps stopped. Then a loud and deranged bellow resonated through the trees, sending a chill down my spine. I quickened my pace and jumped over a small perimeter fence. I landed harshly on the gravel on the other side, but I wasted no time getting back to my feet, running up the hill where I saw Ray emerging from the forest. I reached my friend with tears in my eyes. Ray was terrified, covering her mouth with her hand and hyperventilating. "We need to get the fuck out of here," I told her. We took a different path back to my house. She was too scared to walk back home alone. Alone. In the dark. The next morning, my sister asked me what she was doing at our house, and why there were dirty clothes scattered across the floor that smelled like cigarettes. We lied about the whole thing, but she knew something was up. Thankfully, she never snitched on us. To this day, I still have no idea who was in the woods with us that night, and why the hell they screamed like a deranged lunatic. But to any younger kids out there who feel like they need to sneak out at night, just don't. You don't want to end up telling a story like this, or never telling one at all.
I mean, you could probably sneak out, just don't go in no woods. Like, it's the woods. It's the woods.
So a little backstory. I grew up in a close-knit community surrounded by houses and parks.
Right.
As far as crime goes, very little ever occurred there.
So what?
Things came full circle last year, when I moved into a house in my old neighborhood. It was just off of the main road that connected to a local mental hospital. There had always been an underlying concern from the residents about that place, but there had never been an incident where a patient escaped. Over time, we got used to it. However, things changed over the years. It was no longer the quiet, peaceful place I remembered. The amount of noise and crime I witnessed after moving in was astonishing. My wife travels a lot for work, and when she does, I tend to sleep in my game room towards the back of the house. One night, I had a horrific nightmare. I was lying on a bed in a dark room at the hospital when I got that feeling you get when you know that you're being watched. I scanned the room to find my wife standing in the corner, looking directly in my eyes. "Josh, wake up. Someone is about to break in.
That's
You
tough.
need to wake up."
Oh, yeah?
I sprung up and immediately grabbed the handgun I kept in my nightstand.
Yeah. I sprung up. And immediately on me.
I opened my back door to find someone standing in my backyard with a crowbar. The figure took a few steps towards me with the crowbar raised above their head, and I raised my firearm. "Come any closer, and I'll shoot." The figure then stopped dead in their tracks, then took off, jumping over the brick fence that separates our backyard from the main road. I called the non-emergency number and let the dispatcher know what just happened. It turns out that the man in my backyard was an escapee from the mental hospital.
Wow.
It was the first time that anyone had ever escaped from that place.
Not gonna be the last
And he
time.
ended up in my backyard with a crowbar. Lucky me.
It's not that, I mean, hold on. Oh, shit, it's over. Okay, hold on. It didn't seem like that long. That's crazy. I guess I was fairly entertained.
There's always a reason to be afraid.
Ah. 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 Let me know in the comment section below or whatever the next hour-long reaction you want me to do. Try to like that comment as much as you can. But with that last story, did they live next to a mental asylum or something? Because what the hell? Hell no. That's just as bad as like living next to a cemetery, living next to a jail, living next to a prison. Jesus. But, oh yeah, like I said, I had a good time. So next time, like I said, I'm gonna react. I'm gonna taste this one. Right, it's still sealed up, but Let me know the next hour-long reaction. If you had a good time, I'll see you in the next one after that, and the next one after that. Let's go. Keep it cool, keep it classy, and I love you. Stay happy. My family.